Hello, and welcome back to the BFA Baby podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Hartman, and we have another lovely special guest on the podcast, Miss Samantha Parr.
Hi.
Longtime friend of mine, founder of an organization you might know from Instagram called Dancer for Dancer. And Sam, I'll let you take it away. Give us the introduction that you think you need.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you for having me, Taylor. This is super exciting. I love the podcast, love everything that you do. I think you're just amazing.
Make me
Um,
cry on the podcast. We just started.
yeah, so my name is Samantha, and I'm a sophomore at UCLA studying political science. And I grew up dancing primarily ballet, but kind of all different styles throughout the years. I started an organization called Dancer for Dancer back as a sophomore in high school. And the whole premise was basically to garner more support among dancers and to talk about issues that were not usually talked about in the dance community, issues that were typically seen as very taboo, such as mental health and social justice. And this primarily happened over COVID because of the lack of connection that we were having in that time. And so I'm lucky to continue finding opportunities to dance while in college, but of course, my life looks a little different now than it did back then, as I'm not majoring in dance or anything. But I'm still trying to find ways to continue keeping that spark alive and finding ways to give back to the dance community in whichever ways that I can. But in my career, I'm looking at getting into law and government. And so last summer, I spent 11 weeks in Washington, D.C., interning in Congress. And so that was super exciting. On campus, I'm involved in the student newspaper, a consulting club, and the law journal. So those are just a few things about myself. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here today and excited to talk.
Amazing. And I think a really big turn in our conversation today and why I specifically wanted to bring you on is like I think it's really important to talk about how growing up in dance for us, but art in general, how that translates. And we talked about it last week with our guest Jackie. Like there's so many transferable skills that
Mhm.
even if you don't take the path I'm on and it's not something you're gonna like professionally pursue, there's still so much that you learned and so much
Mhm.
benefit from it. And I
Yeah.
think that's definitely a point in like our further end of our conversation. But I do want to pick your brain about little baby Sam and starting dance and your love there. Because
Mhm.
obviously you stuck with it for since till you graduated, you started an organization around it. Like it's obviously a very big part of your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I guess, my mom put me in dance when I was super young because she was a dancer growing up, and so she thought it would be cute if I started dance too, but I don't think she realized exactly the direction that I would take with it. Um, I also went to a studio, a local studio. I never joined, I never was part of any like professional or pre-professional studios, but I went to a local studio. But I still kind of, I grew up doing a lot of different things. Like I was doing soccer and I was running and I was doing piano. And then at a certain point, ballet kind of became like at the forefront of my life.
Yeah.
It kind of happens to some people. I feel like it's one of those things where it kind of just consumes you and it just becomes your entire life somehow along the way. And so that kind of happened to me. I just kind of I found a passion in it that I didn't feel with anything else really in the same to the same magnitude as I felt. Um, and I began to kind of get into kind of more professional spaces. Like I was doing summer intensives. I went to the Joffrey Ballet in San Francisco. I did PNB, and then I did Ballet West for I did like 4 summers in a row of going to different intensives. I did like YAGP, which definitely did not like. I was not the best one there. Let's just put it that way. It was more for fun, more just to kind of get experience performing and stuff. And it was a great experience. Like I wouldn't have traded it for the world, but definitely was eye-opening to be in those spaces with dancers who are super talented and who that was like their end goal in life was to be a professional dancer.
Yeah.
And I think that I was in a way a little bit underprepared for those environments because again, my studio was very nurturing, very local. It wasn't anything super um intense in the way that these intensives were. Um and yeah, so I think I don't know, I think I just got opened up to the whole world. And I was definitely considering the pre-professional route for a while. I was kind of like when I was in seventh, eighth, ninth grade, I was thinking that I was going to pursue dance like seriously until I realized that I was good, but not that good. But I think in those times, I think a lot of the pressures that I put on myself were very internal, but then I also noticed them in a lot of other girls around me. And I feel like the pressures that we all kind of put on ourselves and that we all kind of put in our own little siloed, I don't know, I think we just all put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And I think that we were all kind of struggling internally with so many battles and so many demons at such a young age.
It's such a big thing to like
Yeah.
put on kids. Cause I mean, like, I remember I had a director, I was like probably 11 or 12, and she was like, if you want this to be your job, you need to decide right now.
Yeah.
And I was
And
like, I
it's
like,
true. I mean, in some ways, yeah.
yeah. And I mean, like, it's obviously it's working out for me, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
I don't think if because I like totally relate. Like, it was very much like I have a Midwest mom, and what do Midwest moms do besides put their kids in baby ballet? They
Yeah.
don't do, it's just what you do. And I guess like my mom was like, oh, they're just gonna do this, and then they'll just try everything else. And then I just never stopped. And I just
Yeah.
like, I mean, it obviously worked out, but I feel like if you were kind of like pulled in every direction, I feel like it would have to like you just kind of have to wait for that the ballet to be like, yeah, hi,
Yeah.
come down. Like I
Yeah.
look back on that and I'm like, that was such a crazy decision that I made.
Yeah. And like who would have thought that it led to your life as it is now? Like being being like, oh, I love dance at the age of 12 or whatever. And then to
Yeah,
now, I mean, for you to be pursuing it
yeah,
in your like young adult life is like, I mean, I think it's just one of those things. I also feel like kind of like I said earlier, I feel like ballet has taught me a lot about different skills. Like I find myself as I'm kind of getting into my professional life, I find a lot of the skills that are necessary in my career, I think came from ballet and like determination, persistence. I feel like I'm a super persistent person. Like once I start something, I have to finish it and I have to make sure it's thorough and it's like quality work and detail oriented is another skill that I feel.
absolutely.
And it comes to a fault sometimes. I think it's one of those things where perfectionism is definitely a thing with ballet, and then it kind of like transfers into other parts of my life too. But yeah, I mean, do you kind of agree? Do you feel like that's kind of
I do. I mean, like, and even when like I go home and I work retail, if I'm
yeah.
just like at my parents' house, like even like weird little things like that, it's like, oh, I noticed that like if I'm like sending out correspondence or like talking with customers or whatever, it's like this is how you learn to professionally hold yourself when you're
Yeah.
young in dance, and now I'm doing it here. But then
Right.
as someone who's like, I'm pursuing this dance thing, it's like still even just like because I still have to take all the normal gen eds, I'm still taking normal classes as much as I wish I
Mhm.
wasn't. I still am. And it's like, you kind of see the especially the like you said, like if I do something, it's gonna be my best work. Because it was
Mhm.
kind of always like obviously like not everything's gonna be your masterpiece. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm very quickly learning that we have a
Yeah.
couple classes that are like about like choreographing and setting pieces, and our professors are
Mhm.
like, guys, it's not gonna be your masterpiece every single time you
Right.
do something. And
And
like
that's
it
okay.
and
Yeah.
that's okay. And like
Yeah.
it is at a fault, but like that attention to detail is like you kind of can't change that whether you left ballet at 12 or still doing it. It's like I feel like anyone
Yeah.
who grew up in it for like a good chunk of time, it's like just
Mhm.
lasered
Yeah.
in.
Well, and I also feel like a lot of ballet is obviously performing, and so you're kind of being primed to like be a performer in some way. And so I think that
Yeah,
like in your life as well, like in jobs or in different things that you're doing, I think that you always feel like you're putting on a performance and you have to be, up to par and always doing your best and being your best. So that's another thing that ballet
And
has
I
taught me.
feel like, I mean, and it's like nothing prepares you for a job interview better than having been auditioning since you were a child.
True. You know how to
Like,
prepare for those
you
things.
know
Yeah.
how to prepare. And
Yeah.
Allison Stoner's podcast, I've shouted out a couple times, but she was like child actor. She did like Camp Rock and everything. And she was like, I have no problems with job interviews or like talking to
Yeah.
people. It's like, because that's what you've been doing since you were like,
Right.
I mean, that was very high level. Like, she was a Disney kid, but like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
at any level, an audition is just a job interview.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I've done this 7 million times and I will continue to do it. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I do also feel like though, I think that, and this is one thing that I experienced a lot with ballet, was that I feel like ballet is obviously kind of a silent art form. Like you're not talking, you're kind of in your own head a lot of the time, grappling with choreography or things like that,
whatever is going, yeah.
spacing or technique. So I feel like in a sense, I mean, I'm comfortable talking to people, but I feel like it definitely does kind of take me a little bit more to pull me out of my own head sometimes, and to like, I think interviews are hard for that reason. I think because like we're used to performing silently as opposed to, I mean, at least for me, I think some people have a more holistic arts upbringing.
Sure.
They're comfortable with singing, acting, and they can talk to anyone. But I think ballet definitely kind of made me lean into my introverted side a bit more. But
No, I really, I'm glad that you said that because I was like, I was filming a different episode for this season and I was like, ballet is for the introverts because it's delicate and it's quiet and it's like, it's not like going to a concert. It's not going to be loud. It's just going to be very like,
yeah,
and I was like, I mean, like, I was never the kid that wanted to talk to anyone. And then I was like, I think I didn't really even start like being like, I'm gonna like speak up about stuff till I started like acting, which is obviously like a very,
Mhm.
like, it's louder compared to
Yeah,
ballet. It's not as like, I'm gonna
yeah,
stand, it's like, I'm gonna say things. And it was
yeah.
like, I just feel I feel very validated that you brought that up. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it
I mean, it's
totally is.
totally. And that's kind of like also like why I started Dancer Dancers, because it was kind of an unusual thing at the time and in general, because we're bringing dancers together who are used to not talking about things. They're used to being quiet, they're used to being polite. And to get them in a space where they're talking and fleshing out these issues like with their voices was kind of a contradictory thing, and kind of turned ballet a little bit on its head to get these silent dancers to literally physically speak out. So that's kind of what
I mean, like the first time I was in a college ballet class and our professor like asked for our opinion, I think like all of us that it was like our first time in that, we almost like probably fainted. Like I vividly remember being
yeah.
like,
You're like, wait, what? He's
you care what I have to say?
like, yeah.
No, and I
Yeah.
think that was something that really drew me into Dancer for Dancer because I started just like as a lover of the organization. I was like, yes, we're being better people. Because it came at like the perfect time of
Yeah.
like, because COVID was happening and we were all like, what's the world looking like? I
Right.
was very strongly going to be like we were like, I mean, you start preparing for your college auditions like sophomore year of high school, like right when all this happened. So I'm like
Hmm.
taking this path and it was just like such a perfect storm to just be like, here's this space and all these people that are like supportive and understanding and like get it. And it was
Yeah.
like, this was the thing. Like it was just such like a perfect moment that like it kind of spawned in my life. And I kind of want to like pick
Yeah.
your brain about that. Was that something you were kind of like was it one of those things where you're like, I dreamt it and then it had to happen? Or was it kind of like building? Like,
No, I think, I mean, it's like hard for me to recall sometimes. I mean, that like so much has happened since then, but I think it was just one of those things where it was COVID, and I was, we were all dancing on Zoom,
oh
and
my God, we so were.
yeah, you remember this, doing point in your home, and you're like, what am I doing? This
No,
is,
literally, you're like in your garage and you're like, why am I
yeah,
in my garage right now? Like,
I know. I mean, it was just like a crazy time, and like it was. I think my relationship with ballet was hard at that time. I think as was everyone else's. Like you love this thing, but it's becoming so hard to do it, and um, I think that I definitely I noticed this in my peers too. I think a lot of us we're always complaining about it. We were always like, oh, this is like a terrible situation. Like, of course,
Right.
people had it a lot worse than
Oh,
we.
worse.
Like doing ballet in your kitchen is not the worst thing to come from the pandemic, but like for artists, it was, you know,
And
it's hard
also
to
at like 15 years old, that's kind
right.
of, you don't have a grasp on
Yeah,
like you were
exactly.
losing like salary jobs, like at
Yeah,
15. Like,
right. But it was still mentally difficult, I think,
yeah.
in some respects. And so I think I was just kind of feeling like this kind of mutual, almost like mourning and kind of anger and sadness going on with me and my peers. And so I think I just kind of felt like I needed to do something about it because nothing was being done, and it was kind of just a time when I feel like connection was needed. And so the first call was just with like local people in my community. Um, the first like discussion call, and then it kind of I began hosting more, and then I did like some speaker panel events that I thought would be fun, and then that kind of drew in more people to it.
Yeah.
And then we started posting more on social media and doing kind of more like informational, educational things. It kind of just evolved depending on what was needed at the time. Like it was very much like a response to a general need as opposed to kind of just spawning in as like, here's an idea, let's see what
Here's
happens.
an idea,
But
let's chase it. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it was like definitely like, and it kind of that's kind of how it evolved too. Like throughout the whole time that it was running, it kind of melded and morphed in response to social justice needs and to the pandemic and how people were feeling about it. And so I don't know, I think just the whole thing kind of just evolved in response to the needs of the community and in the age group that I think it like spoke to the most. And now
Yeah.
we're all in college, we're all with our peers, and it's all hopefully better now. But at the time it was definitely a response kind of thing. And it was out of like a feeling like, well, someone has to do something about this. So why
Right,
not me?
right. And like we
So
were just kind of all reflecting on like that exact time. And we were like,
yeah,
like I don't think I would have had the words to say this at 15, 16, but like it was also just it was so frustrating because like you said, like this thing that we love was getting increasingly hard to do.
yeah,
But then it was becoming rapidly apparent that it's like kind of dying right in front of us.
yeah,
And then it's like, you fast forward like 4 years and we're all in college and we're all still fighting to get paid and we're all still fighting to like get the like it's still dying in front of us. And it was
yeah.
like that was kind of the first few moments where I was like, okay, so this is something that is gonna have to change or change. It was a change or die type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you're getting things with like WGA strikes and ABT just got their shit
Yeah,
figured out and like
yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
just like and I think that was the first time that I really looked at it and I was like, what does the art that I do look like in the greater world rather
Mm-hmm.
than like I live in O'Fallon, Missouri, and what does the art look like to me in my little like middle of
Yeah,
nowhere thing? And like getting to hear like I remember my very first panel that I like popped into. Like I was like, I'm just gonna sit and listen to everyone talk. Like I'm just gonna kind of and I remember it was so interesting to hear like it was the first time that we had at least I think it was like one of the first times that we had some like international,
yeah,
friends on the
yeah,
call. So it was so interesting to be like, what is it like where you're at? Like how does it
yeah,
compare to how we feel and how we work with
yeah,
it? And it was just like it was such a big connection moment that we were like that was kind of the time where I was like it'll be okay because if this is the next generation in any shape or form,
yeah.
she'll be fine. Like
Right, exactly. And it's so fun to also still stay in touch with everyone who is part of it when it was going on and like to see where everyone is at. Like I know Jade is in Malta. She's doing some amazing
oh,
international relations
Jade
work.
is like the love of my life. We
Yeah.
literally DM all the time and she always like puts hearts on my be reels. Like she is Jade is just the best. Like I love
Yeah.
that kid.
And like I don't know, it's just it's really cool to see stuff like that, to see everyone kind of taking their own path. And myself too, like I mean I'd always dreamed of doing stuff that I'm doing now, but it's cool to know that there's, you know, you can go down the ballet route, or you can use ballet as a kind of like a launching point to other things, and then we're all gonna have this community even still, you know,
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing. So
Also, you're always gonna have a fun fact about yourself.
true. That's true. I mean, my fun fact is like I I've been an advanced ballet dancer since I was like 4,
Right. You're
whatever it
because
is.
then
Like
it's like I get into a room and they're like, "Do you have a fun fact?" And I'm like, "No." Like,
yeah. Well, because you're,
no.
yeah, like the spaces that you're in
I'm like,
spaces with
all the
people.
interesting things about me, you all also
Yeah.
have. Like,
I know. It's always so funny to me when people discover that I did ballet like at the level that I did, and like it's always kind of like a wait, like what? Like you can do that? I'm like, well, I mean, I could do more back then, but yes, I can technically still do
it
this.
doesn't like it really takes like even I mean like I watched videos of myself dancing when I was a kid and I was like it's when was I able to do that? Because I can't do that now. But like
Yeah.
I mean it's so like just intrinsically like it just becomes baked into you that like
Yeah. Like it
have you
doesn't,
ever
yeah, like you don't really think about it much. And then when you think
no
about it, you're like, oh, well, I guess that is pretty cool that I could do that.
have
But
you ever been like walking or like entered a room or because this happens to me on my college campus consistently. Has
mhm.
anyone ever been like, "Do you dance?" And then they're like, "Oh, I saw it in how you walked." Does that happen? Is that just like a me problem? That do I just walk really I don't know, because that happens to me consistently.
Yeah, that's happened to me once. And I think one person or people have commented on like my like leg muscles. They've been like, "Are you like an athlete or a dancer or something?" I'm like, "Actually, yes, I am."
I
Like
like
just
I'll
based
walk
on,
into my
yeah.
apartment building and the like receptionist at the front desk is always she one time she was like, "Do you dance?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's like actually my major." She was like, "I see you walk in and out of here." And I'm like, "She just has to." And I'm like, "What is
Yeah.
that?" But like
I know, because like we just become so used to it, but to the average person, it's unusual. And like I guess like it's more, it's like the ability to like straighten your legs all the way, like touch your toes, like just things that
right. Like
don't really
weird
think
little
about.
mobility things that like no one
Yeah,
else really
exactly.
considers.
Right.
So
Posture is one thing, I think.
posture's a big one.
I'm
I
trying to
kind of
work
want to
on
delve into your life and education now. I want to kind of know
that.
what's, you know, you talked about DC, which like that was so fun to like see like on your stories and everything. I was like, yeah, she's, I was like, tear that up, let's go. Like it was
Yeah.
so exciting to see. I was like, she's doing the big girl thing. But yeah, I kind of want to talk about like you know, because obviously you did kind of have to make that call that was like, I'm gonna go down this
Mhm.
different path with my
Yeah.
higher education, with my career, whatever. And I kind of want to talk about that because it's obviously a different experience than like what I had.
Mhm.
And I just kind of am so because I mean, there was never for me something that I was like, I never kind of felt like if there was a pull either way and I had to like make a call, like it was always just
Right.
like, this is the call. Like
Yeah.
and I'm always so fascinated when people are like, "Oh, you know, I was like a really competitive athlete in high school or like this and this," and they kind of had to make that decision. Was it like a decision this way, or was it just like a this was kind of the natural progression of where my life was going?
Are you're talking about like just the path that I'm kind of going down in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, in high school, I was really interested in kind of advocacy, social justice type things. Like I was a member of my county's youth court program where I helped like teens in my community develop restorative plans as opposed to enduring the traditional juvenile justice system, and that was really fulfilling for me. And then I've been involved in student journalism for like the past 5 years in high school and now in college at UCLA. So that's been like a really great like method of kind of community involvement and advocacy work. Um, and then I think just as a high schooler, I think I was really interested. I thought I was gonna like run for office, and maybe I will one day, who knows? But that
Keep
was like
that
my,
up.
yeah, I
I'll
mean, I
vote for
don't
you in office. I will move. I will relocate to vote for you.
know. Yeah, like I think I kind of was really I as like a teenager, I was really inspired by a lot of strong female leaders in our country. And I kind of saw a lot of myself in them, and I like really wanted to be like them and to inflict change like they did. And so I guess when it became time to figure out what I wanted to do with my life as a senior applying to college, I was thinking political science kind of ties in all the aspects that I like of advocacy, community work, leadership, communication, writing. Like I kind of just everything kind of culminated towards
Yeah,
political science and kind of law, government, policy work. And then when I got to college, I kind of had a little bit of a crisis as in terms of like what I was doing because
of
I
course.
was like,
No, we all did. We all
no,
did.
too. I mean, it's like this sounds like it's such a I mean, it's a very shared experience by a lot of people. But I was thinking like, oh, like is law the route for me? Like, what if I don't want to go to law school? Like, what if it's not for me? I was thinking like, oh, well, I could do something with science. I've always liked science. I was kind of like had a lot of ideas of what I could do, and I was thinking like I was just doubting myself a lot at that time, and I was really insecure in what I was doing. Also, because I feel like, I mean, I go to a school where STEM is definitely like the more
The
celebrated.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like UCLA is a big research university. It's a lot of people, most of my friends like pre-med engineering majors. So I think I felt kind of a little bit of like an inferiority complex with humanities because I think, do you know what I mean? Like, I mean,
It's so real. It's so
yeah, because especially, I mean, I think if I went to like a liberal arts school, I wouldn't feel it the same way. But going to a big research university where everyone seems to be a STEM major, I was like, am I doing the right thing? Like,
it's
should
so
I?
real. And then it's like
Yeah,
my twins going to nursing school.
right.
So like
Yeah,
that whole thing is
yeah,
like it's like what am I doing? And then it's like, wait, you
yeah.
don't want to be doing that.
Right. And that's exactly how I felt. I was like, at a certain point, I think it was like winter break of freshman year, I had a realization. I think I went back to my high school journalism room because I don't know, I was
Straight out
my
of a movie.
yeah, well, I mean, seriously, like my advisor there was kind of like he'd been like a mentor to me for a few
Yeah.
years. So we were kind of in touch and I went back and visited to like see him and to see the students that I had known in the previous years. And I think just going back there and like seeing their work and seeing the legacy that my work had on their work and feeling like, okay, like my skills really do lie in humanities. Like
Yeah.
I know that I'm gonna end up doing something related to policy or like humanities related work. So why would I major in STEM? I should embrace the skills that I have and the natural inclinations that I have, and I should like really lean into them and like I mean, because like not everyone likes to write, not everyone is skilled
Right.
at like at speaking and at writing. And so why would I not go down that path if that's what I've
Right.
always done and what I'm good at? So I'm like, okay.
And like, do I, and I mean, like, even just very recently, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, whatever. And then it's like, okay, no, wait, like,
Yeah.
you,
Someone's
why
gotta do
wouldn't you do it? Like,
yeah. I mean, and also like someone there has to be someone in every field. We can't all do the same thing.
there has to be someone in every
There's
field.
got to be dancers. There's got to be political science majors. There's got to be English majors. There's got to be, like I don't know. I think it took me a while to really kind of embrace like my natural skills and things. And so I think
And it's
I
so
applied. Yeah.
real. And it's so
Yeah.
real because I feel like that's something that's like, they'll tell you that you'll have that kind of like college is gonna be a big shift, but like it's never like that's the shift. But like
Yeah.
we all feel that. We're like, I mean, like some will come like right away. Sometimes it's later, but it's like, I
Hmm.
mean, I had like one of my best friends. Shout out Colin if you're listening to the podcast. One of my best friends was like, he was in like the major he chose for like a semester and was like, I am not happy here. Like I'm trying to
Yeah.
like squeeze into something I don't want to really do. So he
Yeah.
switched his major to like the kind of more like dreamy, like whatever, like what he actually wants to do. And he's like, like loving his life. Like,
Yeah. And it's so true. I mean, I'm so much happier now doing things that I actually like. What a shocker? And so,
joy doing is good.
yeah, I know. It's great. And so then I applied to an internship and I applied to several in DC just to like see if that would take off and if that would be a possibility. And then I ended up getting an internship for my local congressman there was no nepotism involved, just to preface. But he's my congressman and he's great. And so I interned in his office.
Put it out on the podcast. There was
Yeah,
no nepotism.
no connections, no nepotism. It
She
was
said, "I
all
am not a nepotism baby." Let it be
well, yeah,
known.
like I think it's I mean I think especially like in DC and like careers in DC it's really common. I mean no shame to those who get internships that way, but
Honestly,
uh,
like we all want to be you. Like we don't hate you. We just want to be you. Like
right. And so like yeah, so it was a great summer. I was it was definitely a summer of growth. I think I was kind of young on the younger side to be doing that. So that was definitely I definitely grew up kind of fast that summer. Um but I mean, yeah, it was just like such an amazing experience to get to kind of just learn about the inner workings of the government, of legislative process, to communicate with constituents every day, and to be helping the staffers with legislative research and like helping the congressman get his legislation reintroduced in the next Congress. Like it was just and I got to go to um the like the House chamber floor and like sit in the seats when it was recess. We had to sit in the seats and like I don't know, it was a really immersive experience getting to meet so many amazing people in DC and doing great things. Like I met several people who ended up announcing that they were running for Congress. Like it's crazy how like you meet someone in one setting and then they announce that their campaign for Congress and you're like,
no,
what?
and you're like, what?
And you're like,
So
what? Like
was
how?
it like that kind of thing where you were like I mean, I'm imagining like my whatever, like how I would feel like. Was that just kind of you're like, I'm in where I want to be. Like this is it.
Yeah, I mean definitely. I mean, walking past the Capitol building every day to work, I was like, this is insane. Like, this is what I had always. I mean, you hear about like, oh, hill turn talk. There's like a
Yeah.
whole TikTok that's only for like hill turns. It's like kind of a whole thing. But
Are
I
you
had
a star on hashtag Hilltern TikTok?
well, I made a few videos, but I would definitely not consider myself. I mean, I have a private TikTok account. I don't really post.
She's like, it didn't reach, but it reached what we needed to.
It was for myself. And so
Dude, I'm on law school TikTok. I have no
I'm like,
desire to go to law school, but I'm so fascinated by it. I'm on law school
yeah,
TikTok. I need to get on Hilltern TikTok.
yes, get on Hill Talk. But I like it was so it was just so cool to have watched those videos for so many years and have dreamed of this and then suddenly you're there and it's almost like you have the feeling of like am I taking advantage of the situation enough? Like am I really like
Sure.
maximizing my time? And it's like you get an opportunity like that and you're like I hope I did it right. Like I hope I really I mean there's always
Am
opportunities.
I the Hilltern they will look up to?
Exactly. Like, I mean, there's always opportunities to get back there, but it's like once you're there, like you really want to maximize your time. And I think I did my best to do that. I think I took advantage of lots of different events and meeting people and doing not just the work that I was doing every day, but doing stuff outside of work. And yeah, I mean, DC is a great city and I really hope to get back there and to do more work there at some point. But yeah, I mean,
Well, that's
I'm hoping to work for a few years after undergrad and then go to law school and do the law thing. So maybe in the few years that I have in between, maybe I'll go to DC and do some work there, but who knows? We'll see
do
what
you
happens.
have like I mean, and this might be so far down the path, but like I have like a friend that I know is like, I'm gonna go to law school after this. Do you have like a law avenue you kind of want to be, or just like, I'm gonna figure that out later?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely more inclined towards public interest related law. I met an attorney who works at the DOJ and she used to go to UCLA then so yeah, I met her like through just being UCLA people, but she's an attorney for the DOJ and her work sounded really fascinating. Just like kind of working for like a federal agency that is like working to protect the interests of Americans, not only domestically but also internationally. That just sounds really appealing to me to kind of engage with the government in a legal way and to protect people's rights that way. I think it'd be cool to go down the government route too, like to be a staffer or something, but I think I'm definitely more inclined on the legal side of that. But
Legal side of it.
yeah, I think overall though, I think I want to get into some sort of public interest government related law. So
No, I
we'll see.
love that, but I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna switch over links so I don't get cut off mid thought. I will see
Okay.
you in just a second.
Okay, sounds okay.
Yeah, I've said it every episode, but I am too broke of a college student for like Zoom Plus or whatever.
And that's so good. And I
It's,
love that for you because I didn't realize that they cut you off at 40 minutes for a two-person call until I was on one of these calls and I was like, I don't have enough time. I thought it was
oh, they
unlimited.
stay doing that. And well, because
Yeah.
I thought that like if it was like I thought that if it was like the host and like max two other people, you would just like vibe.
Yeah. It
But
used to be
no.
like
Did we have, I say we like I was making decisions. Did we have Zoom Pro for Dancer, or did we just like live our lives on the free version?
uh I think I did get Zoom Pro and I used my own money because the organization did not function on any sort of funds. So
Right. Well,
definitely
like I
yeah.
the very first interview for the podcast I did last season, this is so off topic, but I like got a free trial just to like see.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't imagine me using this enough to like pay for it. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make my guests switch lanes.
And it's like no problem. Like it's fine, but you gotta just
So
like be ready for it.
Zoom, if you're listening, sponsor my podcast. Call me.
If you're listening, bring back the unlimited minutes for guests of two or less, because that would be really
Let's right. Please bring back the one-on-one coffee date vibes. I
yes.
swear that used to be a thing.
I think it did. And
I
then
really
Zoom
think that
became
it
popular.
did. And here
Yeah.
we are. And here we are. But no, like I just love like hearing you talk about this and like seeing it. Like, cause I mean, as we were like at such a distance, like seeing it and then like just seeing how the work and like the love that I saw you put into Dancer for Dancer like manifest into like she's doing like real shit for like the people of our nation. Like I'm like that's it. Like it just I don't
Yeah.
know if like if you asked me sophomore year when we like first started like kind of whatever, like I don't know if I would if you would have been like, "Hey, in 4 years, this is what we're going to be doing." But like it's so you and it's like that she's killing the game. Like
Thank you. That's so
that's so
sweet.
it. Like I love hearing you talk about it and it's just like it's just so happy because it's like I've seen you talk this way about art, but it's like I feel like there's so much fear and I mean like I've even had this in myself and I've seen it happen with my peers. It's like if I feel my heart pull a different way, but it's like I'm 20 years old. I started dancing at 5. I've quite literally dedicated my whole life to this.
Yeah.
And it's like I just think that there's such a thing where it's like that's not like a failure in any way. Like
Yeah.
people of all like people are multifaceted and I don't know why there is like such a feeling that like artists can't be
Yeah. That's
because there
true.
was always so much pressure that I mean like even when I go out for like strictly acting gigs, it's like, am I a dancer who acts? Like, no, like you can literally be like, oh God, like you can be all of the things.
Yeah. I mean, like Barbie was everything.
Barbie
You know,
was everything.
like that's why I always just think about it, is like Barbie was literally everything.
Barbie was literally everything.
So why can't you be two things or three things?
Why can't you do? Well, now we need a side detour back to your Hill intern moment.
Yeah.
Were you in DC for Barbenheimer?
I was. Yeah, I saw both films in DC. Yeah.
So also a moment in your internship.
A very big moment in my internship.
A very culturally significant
Yeah.
moment, not just for the American
No.
population,
And it
but
was yeah, and it was so funny because like we were talking about Barbenheimer in like as like a whole staff. Like it was like we would be chatting on our like our teams, like Microsoft Teams. We'd be chatting
oh my
like
God, Microsoft Teams. Yes.
yeah. We'd be like our intern. There were three of us interns. Love them both to bits. Caitlin and Katie. Love you guys. But we would
Listen to
be
the
like,
podcast. Get you
yeah,
guys on the pod.
I know. One of them actually she is a former actor. So there you go. But I
Get her
know.
on the
I
podcast.
gotta get her on here. But
Get her on, get
we'd
her
be
on.
chatting about like Barbie and we'd be sending gifts and stuff.
Yes.
Of course, in moments when it was idle.
She
We would
said we did do our work. Let it
these
be
are,
known.
we did our work, but there'd be moments we'd be chatting about about those things. We actually, the three of us saw Barbie together, which was really cute and fun because there were only three of us interns. We were all girls, and so we got along
You
great
had your
together.
little woman in power moment.
We did. Yes, we did. And
You
then
had your little we can be sparkly but also intern in DC
yes,
moment.
exactly. So there you
No,
go. We
it
got
was like such a moment for me because like I did
yeah.
it twice. I was like, I'm very much gonna do it once by myself because
Do the Barbenheimer or just Barbie?
I Barbenheimered. I did
Wow,
it twice.
twice.
Because
That's
I was like,
intense.
I'm gonna do it once by myself because if I take anyone in my family, they're not gonna want to hear me like dissect it and talk about it and
Yeah.
whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna do it once by myself and just like do it how I want to do it. And then I will just drag my sisters with me the second
Yeah.
time. Because I was like, guys, I know that you don't care, but like this is a culturally significant moment.
Right.
You're gonna be a part of this. Like, because 20 years down the line, when like you're telling your kids about it, like you're gonna wanna where were you during
Yeah.
Barbenheimer? You know, like
True. No,
you're gonna
seriously.
the kids are gonna wanna know where were
Yeah.
you? Because
Mm-hmm.
when the little girls grow up on Margot Robbie's Barbie, they're gonna wanna know where were you when it came out.
Yeah. I I'm the hugest fan of Greta Gerwig. I think she's just awesome. So
I'm like the worst movie buff woman ever, but like I seriously like I didn't get into her work until after Barbie. Like I knew that she did like Little Women and everything, and I
and
remember
Lady
seeing
Bird.
it. Yes, and oh, I do love Lady Bird. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching Lady Bird in high school. I was like so sad, and everyone was like, at the time, everyone was like, "You need to watch this movie," and then I was really sad, and I was like, "Click." And the scene where she's like talking to her parents, and she's like, "Write a number down." I'm like, "Oh
Yeah.
my
She's
guys,
just so
what?"
relatable. I've
She's
been
so
Do you have Letterboxd?
yes.
Because
I need
I
to like
don't,
get better
and
at
I
it,
think I
but like
should.
yes. I'm like
'Cause
bad at it, but I need
yeah,
to yes.
I know. Because what I do is that I literally just write down the movies that I watch on like a notes on my notes app. Like this is my list of movies. And it's called movies.
It
Like I
doesn't
need
even
I need to get a letterbox because
No,
it's
you
getting to
should.
the point.
I
Yeah.
need to get I so I do a lot of letterbox scrolling
Mm-hmm.
and I like to read what people say. And then like if I have really strong thoughts, I'll put it down. But I need to get better at like right after I watch a movie. Like
Yeah.
because I have a section in like my I'm pointing over here because my bullet journal is over here, which is like I have this acting professor. Shout out Larissa if you're listening to the podcast. And she's like, you have to watch stuff to learn stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a
Yeah.
whole section in like every month from our bullet journal. It's like, what did you watch and what did you learn from it? Even if it's just
Mhm.
like I had a good time,
Yeah.
you know, like what did you get
Yeah.
from it?
And
And
that's so true. Yeah. Also, I think that that applies. I'm a big reader and I love Goodreads. That's kind of like my domain.
oh,
So,
my sister's big on Goodreads.
yeah.
What's the fastest you ever finished a book?
Oh God. See, the thing is that I'm too busy to like
See,
actually,
that's why I don't read.
yeah. And that's the thing
Like
is that my roommate she reads so many, like she reads so much, and I wish I could be like that, but I like literally just, I'm like always just like jumping from meeting to meeting to class. I'm like,
my
it takes
roommate's big into audiobooks.
So you're walking around campus and you can like be listening to
Oh,
a book.
she'll be like if we're doing dishes
Yeah, that's
or like
actually
if she's
smart.
in the shower, she'll just like bump a chapter of the
Yeah.
audiobook. Like
You
and so
see,
maybe
yeah.
because like I like a good podcast. I drive to podcasts. Maybe I could
Yeah.
drive to like an I
Yeah.
feel like though to start audiobooks, I would just have to pick a book that I know to like
Yeah.
catch the vibe.
Right. Well, I think also like what I was thinking about though with books is what you were talking about with movies is like you kind of have to like I don't know. I've kind of I don't know. I don't love like fiction, like the modern fiction,
Sure.
r-
The
but I
modern fiction.
the modern fiction canon is I think is like there's definitely some flaws with it. But I think in general, I definitely like I challenge myself to read fiction more. I think that reading fiction and nonfiction too, I think just opens up like you get in the mind of someone else and you get in someone's
Yeah.
shoes, it's more empathetic and you learn something about interactions and human relationships and like you really do learn things. And I think that like that's what reading does is that it exposes you to different lines of thinking and different ways of reasoning and experiences that you haven't had yourself, but that you can put yourself in someone else's shoes to experience that, just like you can with movies. and also a dance for that matter too. I think a lot of
Yeah.
like the best dance like performances that I've seen have been ones that I'm like that take me out of myself and like put me into
Yeah, it's
them. And
like I'm not sitting in the dress that I picked out to go to the theater. Like I'm
yeah,
there with you. Like
yeah. I was just in Boston with my mom, a little girls trip, and we went to see Boston Ballet. We saw Cinderella, and it was amazing. Like it was just one of those shows where it kind of like takes you out of yourself and puts you
and
in
like
there with
yeah, it's Cinderella, but like it's Cinderella. Like that's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
I think definitely like just watch stuff to learn stuff, read
Yeah.
stuff to learn stuff, do stuff to learn stuff. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
fully making a dance film for like one of my choreography classes, like final
Mhm.
projects. And my
Mhm.
professor was like, "Why did you want to do that?" And I was like, "Well, I do see myself like at some point in the future like choreographing for film. That's something that I would like on the bucket list be in a
Yeah.
movie. Not in a
That's
movie,
awesome.
but like work on a set somewhere." But
Yeah.
also
That's so
like I
cool.
was like, "Brittany, I'm gonna be so for real. I just want to see if I could do it." Like
Yeah.
I'll be so for
Yeah.
real. I just want to see if I can. And do it
Yeah.
now, then like
Mhm.
I'm not getting paid for it. This is an assignment. Do it when it
Right.
doesn't actually matter. Like it does, but it
Exactly.
doesn't, you know,
And
like
that's
do
what
it,
college is for too, you
kids do
know?
your homework. Like kids,
Yeah.
if you're listening, your assignments do matter, but like
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
little
I
low
think,
stakes.
yeah, I mean, A, that's what college is for, and B, I feel like it's one of those things where like I really do feel like you can do anything you put your mind to. Like you really can do anything you want
Yeah.
with enough determination, with enough, like work, with enough outreach, with enough time spent or whatever it is that whatever ingredients that are required with enough of it and with like if your heart is in like you really can do anything. You can email someone, start a connection with them and get to the like you can start filming something, get some people together, start filming it, choreograph, like whatever it is you want to do. I think that like I mean especially as college students, we're in a part of our lives where like we do have a lot of like opportunities to do things. And I think
Yes.
people don't take advantage enough of that. And I think that you should do that because I think it's really cool. And
And
I think
that's like such a big thing that like kind of for this
yeah.
podcast, but also like just kind of for like it's I hate the term that like your inner child, but like you know whatever. Because it's like
Dude, same. That's
I
okay.
like it makes me feel
Yeah,
like
I'm
sick.
glad you brought that up, but because like no, I'm glad that you brought that up because I feel like I get it. I do, but I'm
I
like,
like it
you keep
heals
calling it
me.
that.
I understand, but like
Yeah,
also just like the term makes me like nauseous.
I know. I'm like, it's
Like I
that one.
get it, and
Yeah,
I
it's
get
that
it. Like
one.
I do.
I know. It's that one along with like that one for me feels like the sound that like I think I like this little life. Like those two go like hand in hand to me. I don't know why.
Like
But yeah.
part of well, see that one I'm more 50-50 on. Like the whole like inner child thing is like I'm so for the like vibe. I'm
Yeah.
not for the like vocabulary that comes with it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
eat that up all day long. But
Yeah.
it's like what do we need to like call normalize calling it something
Yeah.
else. Like, but like
Normal, I mean,
I
yeah.
genuinely came from a family that was like sometimes you can't do everything and I'm like no but like you can. Like
Yeah.
there are going to be obstacles but like if you do want to try something and you're like in it enough
Yeah.
and you are like your heart's in it enough like you fully have the capability to make it happen. It's not going to be easy but like you totally can.
Right. And of course there are like institutional barriers
Of
that may prevent
course.
you or other people from doing certain things. Like that's totally a definite thing. Is like, yeah, there are definite barriers to some
Of
things,
course.
but within the scope that you can do something, I think that you should take advantage of what you have in front of you, you know?
I think okay, this is gonna be I'm gonna pull this like out of literally nowhere. Have you seen The Bear?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, first off, it's very fantastic. Would highly recommend it. Like,
Okay.
even like, I mean, well, like, so that same acting class where we were watching stuff to learn stuff, we watched a monologue. There's like this like 7 minute, like it's the thing that the first season is known for, monologue. And we were like tearing it apart and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna watch the rest of that show. That was like a really good performance. And then I
Yeah.
just like fell in love with it. And like season three is coming out, and I almost relocated to like be an extra in this. Like it was a whole thing. Like this was a moment. But there's like this whole part where was I going with this conversation? My brain just like oh, there's this whole part that like, like if you have the right people around you and the right energy, like why wouldn't you turn it up to 11?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you turn the stove as hot as it can
Yeah.
go and see what
Yeah.
happens?
Right. Yeah.
Definitely watch The Bear. I've been saying this to everyone that comes on. I'm like, please watch it. It's great. Like even people I know that are like, I don't like TV. They're like, oh wait, this is really good. Like, and I don't even really like TV. Like I'd rather watch a movie.
Yeah.
Also, because like I don't have the time to like be invested in like something that's 8 seasons long. I simply
Right.
don't.
Yeah. That's how I was with Suits. I was watching Suits over the summer and then
Should
I
I
got to
watch Suits? My mom's in love with Suits, and it's Meghan
you should.
Markle, right?
It
Pre
is. It
Harry
is.
Meghan Markle.
Exactly. And if nothing else, watch the pilot. Like the
Sure.
first episode is like the best pilot of any series I've seen. Like if nothing else, just watch that one
Just
episode.
and just is it like how people say if nothing else, just watch the last episode of Mad Men? Like even if you don't know what's going on, just watch the last episode of Mad Men.
I guess yeah. I haven't seen Mad Men.
I'm a lover of Mad Men. That's like the one that like I've seen probably 3 or 4 times. I do love me
Okay.
some Mad Men. But
Okay.
like there are people like I mean I personally say watch the whole thing through. But there are
Mhm.
people like in the scope that are like the last episode just feel it out. Like
Yeah.
no, do well guess I'm where is Suits? Is it Netflix? Is it
It's Netflix, yeah.
I'll be pulling that up.
Yeah,
I kind of
definitely.
forgot that it was pre Harry Meghan Markle as well.
Yeah. I mean, because the show has become more popular like in recent years. I'm not entirely sure why, but yeah, it's a great show. I
It's
mean,
from a minute ago, isn't it? Is it
yeah, it's
from like a
I think
minute ago?
it's
Let's
from
do
like
some
I'm not
Googling.
entirely sure when it was
We're gonna do
initially.
some Googling. Well, because
Oh,
Mad Men is from a while ago, and it kind of had like a when I was in high school, it kind of had a resurgence.
mm-hmm.
Suits
Okay.
came out in
2000 what?
uh, 2011.
Okay. But I will say that it does get a bit repetitive, so you don't have
There's
to watch.
9 seasons. What am I?
Yeah.
See, that's my issue. What am I supposed to do for nine
It's
seasons?
I know. Like so that's why I say just watch the first episode or first
And then
season.
catch a vibe. Yeah,
And
so Mad Men
yeah.
came out in 2007. So
Okay.
that's so like I mean I was 3 when Mad Men came out.
Yeah.
The lead guy's from Missouri, so
Oh,
let's rock. Let's rock.
nice.
Okay. Get John Hamm on the podcast. Could you imagine? Be like, can you just tell me about being in Mad Men? Fun fact, I am an advertising minor because of
Oh,
Mad Men.
really?
Yeah.
It's funny how things like that kind of happen. Like my good friend is she's like a film minor because she went to the film school building and was like, this is a really pretty building. I'm gonna minor in film. I'm
No,
like,
literally.
like
Someone was like, why are you an advertising minor? And I was like, do you want the real answer or like the PR answer? And the
right.
PR answer is that we had to make a fake advertisement in this digital art class I took in high school, and it was a lot of fun, and I was actually kind of good at it. But the real answer is like, I could kind of be Don Draper if I really wanted to. Like maybe a little less of an evil man,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
he's really like cool and creative and talented. Like I was like,
Yeah.
I'm fully an advertising minor because I love Mad Men. Like,
Yeah, love it.
I love that the film building. It's just a really pretty building, so I'm gonna like go hang out
Yeah.
there a little bit.
It's so funny. And it's like it's literally
Honestly,
why.
yeah.
But
Honestly,
hey, I mean, what's a girl to do these days, you know?
what's a girl to do besides just be? No, that's how I feel about when people are like, I'm just a girl. Circling back to the inner child thing.
Yeah.
Like I've that's the other one that I was like, there's one more that makes me feel like weird. Like I get it and I get the
Yeah.
sentiment, but
I know.
also Barbie was everything.
Yeah, but
Like,
I definitely know what you mean with I'm just a girl. Like,
but
uh,
sometimes you are just a girl. Like sometimes
are, but like, yeah, I don't
like
know.
me being told if I'm gonna dance professionally, I have to make a decision now. Like I truly am
Just a
just a
girl.
girl. I'm truly
But then when I'm like in a serious situation and I want to be taken seriously, I'm like, no, I'm not a girl. I'm a woman. Like, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. What is I would love to pick your not to like circle back to like a more serious topic that we've been
Yeah.
talking about TikTok, but I would love to pick your brain about like being a woman in politics because I
Mm,
picked my roommate's brain about being a woman in
yeah.
STEM. I
Yeah.
want to politics is a loose term, but like I
Mhm.
want a woman in government perhaps. I
Yeah.
want to pick your brain about that because like I mean like I know being a woman in the arts. And I just kind of want to hear like what's this side like? Did you I don't know, and especially like as the world changes, as I keep thinking about like the Joker memes where it's like we live in a society, but like but like as society changes,
Yeah.
post Barbenheimer life,
Hmm.
what do we feel? What do we think? Do we have any words of encouragement for the women in the audience?
Yeah. I mean, I think as far as being in government and being in this field, I don't know. I feel like there are definitely barriers, invisible barriers or very visible ones to women. Um, I think that like I don't know. I mean, personally, I haven't really experienced the barriers that a lot of women face. I think, as an intern, it's kind of a little bit of like a precursor. So it's like I don't know if I've experienced the true inequalities that like women who are running for office experience or women who are, trying to make partner at a law firm experience. But I know there are definitely barriers to those higher up positions. I think a lot of times women get stuck in kind of positions that they I think what I'm trying to say is that I think I've read it's a great book. It's called Brave Not Perfect.
Oh, I'm
Um
writing it down.
it's I
I'll
have
put a link to
it
it in the show notes.
I can have it right here, but
Oh, not a sponsor, but
not
should
a
be.
sponsor, but I don't know why I can't show it. Brave Not Perfect. Rashmi Sojani. She's an amazing author. But the whole thing is that she talks about how women often apply for positions where they meet all the requirements, all the qualifications. They're maybe even overqualified for a position. And it's like they often don't apply to positions where maybe they don't meet all the qualifications, all the requirements, but that they'd still be a great asset to that team. And then like also women have a harder time asking for promotions just because of they're
Real.
like feeling like they're inadequate or they're not perfect or they're not exactly what they're looking for. So I think it's more in the sense that like we need more strong women as role models to show other women, to represent women and to show that we can do these things. We can be in positions of power. We can be ambassadors. We can be, congresswomen. There's nothing is stopping us in a sweeping term, and we should like go for those positions and not like shy away just because we feel like we don't fit all of the requirements. Because there are probably plenty of men who don't fit all the requirements to positions that apply anyways.
Considered like
Yeah,
it
that they
before.
right, that they apply anyways, and then they end up getting it because no women apply. It's like, well, we need to keep going for it, and we need to
And that's
keep.
such like a valid thing, like because even like
Yeah,
when like I just very recently like assistant directed a short film and I was like, I'm gonna be so fucking real. I've never been on a film set before. You're handing me technology I don't know anything about,
yeah,
but like I'm gonna learn and I'm gonna use the skills that I have and the knowledge I have to
mm,
like push this thing forward. And it's
yeah,
like that was the thing where I both felt like I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it and learn. And also like I don't have all the qualifications, but they wouldn't have let me do it if they thought I was gonna like ruin it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
and it's
And
like
yeah,
do
yeah,
things that scare you.
yeah, yeah. And I just think in general, like having more women in positions of power inspires other women to do the same thing. Because I think having role models and having people to look up to is so important, especially in politics and government. Because they're fields that inherently tear people down
You're
in some way.
right.
And so, I mean, the whole thing about politics is like you're trying to win and you're trying to beat out the other candidates. And so I think it's just really important to have women in positions of power to assure other young women that this is possible, that you can do this, that you know this is
And
a
like,
space for you and you're
yeah.
welcome in space and you're not gonna be pushed down for any reason.
In like artistic spaces, we often talk about like women and like female presenting people are the majority, but are very most often treated like the minority of the
Yeah.
situation. And like watching our directors and our department heads and everything like walk up to the men that are like the head of the College of Arts and
Mhm.
Letters, of the theater and dance department, and just be like, we stand for this, our department needs this. Like
Mhm.
watching them be like, oh, like you're not scared of the people above. There's because there's always gonna be someone above you. Like theoretically,
Yeah,
there's always gonna be someone above you. But
right.
like they're like, I'm gonna go speak my mind, and that all I can do is speak my mind with the same confidence that they'll speak their mind with.
Yeah.
And like stand up for what we need. And
Yeah.
and I was like, oh yeah, like we can do that. Like just stand up for yourself. Like and it's like it
Yeah.
was really I mean, obviously it's like you hear that as a kid, but then it's like until you see it happening and you're like, these are women I want to be like, these are women that are doing what I want to do. And you're like, oh wait, that yeah, like it makes sense. Like you have to see it happen for you to be like,
Right.
no, like
Yeah.
obviously, like
Yeah. No, it's so true.
go speak your mind, like do your
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I think I'm just really inspired by all the women that I've met that are running for office, that are, doing big things in the field. I think it's just really admirable work, and I hope to see more of that. I hope to be part of that in the future. So,
Dude,
yeah.
I love it. So I think you have all of the listeners' votes wherever you run. For what? We will all relocate collectively. There was a big push in like population. Like, everyone just like started moving to where Sam was running. It was like, I don't know what happened.
National news.
National news
A migration of people towards
to vote for one candidate. Well, do you think something that kind of interests me that I was like, oh, let's tie this in a nice, pretty bow? You mentioned like politics is kind of the business of winning, which
Mhm.
like very valid point. I guess I wouldn't have put those words to it, but like, no, she's right. Like, and I think that ballet is very much the business of winning.
Mhm.
Do you think that there's kind of like, even if you never really put your brain to it, but like, I kind of was like, you said that, and I was like, oh, I feel that way about like professionally being an artist, like
Mhm.
I kind of feel like there's a lot of crossover there and like you've kind of had your foot in both.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I think the main similarity between ballet and politics on that front, I think, is mainly just the idea that we are always kind of trying to appeal to the masses and appeal to
Yes.
people and to make people like us. And I feel like with ballet, I mean, you can take that with performing, with being on stage, but I think the more prominent part of this ballet is kind of like the student teacher relationship and auditions and kind of positions of being a dancer among the masses, trying to stand out and trying to appeal to a position of power, to someone who's making the decisions, to someone who's a director or a teacher or someone who's going to ultimately decide your fate, for lack of a better word, in
In
ballet.
whatever situation, right?
Right. Whereas I think in politics, it's kind of similar in the way that you're trying to kind of appeal to your constituency to win them over. Um, so yeah, I think that there's definitely a similarity there. Um, but also just with policy making, particularly, I think a lot of it is being conscious of what your constituents want and what they care about. And I think just having a really tuned in lens to what the public cares about, um, I think that's something that I'm not sure is as prevalent in ballet. I think a lot of ballet is like, we're going to put something out there for you guys. Whoever wants to come and see it, you can come and see it. But this is going to be our art. Like, I think that ballet is not about making art that is going to please people
No,
like
yeah.
in what they want to see. It's like it's almost like a unapologetically just here's what we're doing. Whereas in politics, a lot of it is like responding to the people and having that kind of like discussion and back and forth that
And
I
I
think is
think
present
in
in
a
ballet.
way, I mean, from an outside perspective, like I am no woman in politics. I, in fact, I in fact do not have my finger on a political pulse of any sort. But
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, and we'll get into some fun closing questions with our last 10, but
Yeah.
it's also kind of, like my thought is like if you're running for some like big political office, that's like you're trying to get the masses to trust you in a way,
Yeah.
because like you're going to be making decisions kind of on their behalf, like actually on their behalf. But then I think
Yeah.
because if you are a dancer, if you're not at the front of the room, there's always going to be like you're never like, if you're not at the front of the room, you're always going to be under someone.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's like, this one person in this one environment, you're getting their trust rather than like, I'm as a dancer gonna like gain the trust of this company. It's like you got to step up to someone ahead of you before,
Yeah.
and it's like I feel like it's back and forth. But like you had mentioned that, and I was like, I kind of feel that way about like
Yeah.
jumping back and forth. But now I have some fun questions for you to close out on. Um, and they also have like literally nothing to do with anything. I'm so for real. Um, but this one like is a good fade out. If you had everyone in the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
Oh, wow. That's a big question.
I know. Well,
Um,
I start with that one because it usually is like we just spent an hour speaking the minds of
yeah.
our minds.
What would I say? Um, I don't know. I think I would probably say something about, I don't know. That's a good question. I think I
You
would
can
probably say something about just how we all need to work together and we all need to stop
real.
being so, divided over things, and we need to just come together and have empathy for each other and have empathy for our planet and, you
Real.
know,
Put that on a t-shirt and sell it for
listen to science and listen to, like experts and yeah, just kind of just like a lot of things. Like we need to all just listen to each other more.
I think if
And
I had to boil mine down, it would boil down to sometimes if things look bad, take a nap and then deal with it. I think is what I would
everyone
boil
needs
down.
more naps.
Like, I genuinely do believe like sometimes if it looks bad, take a nap and tell me about how you feel in about an hour. If you could be the member of any TV sitcom family, which I will also extend to friend group, which would it be?
Oh, wait, are you saying like would you add yourself to it or would you replace someone that's
You
currently
would
in it?
add yourself, like you would be your own character.
Okay. I mean, what comes to mind first is just Gilmore Girls, but I feel like it'd be weird if I inserted myself in their family because the two of them are so close, and I feel like I don't know what I would do
Right.
in that
She's like,
situation.
I'm third wheeling, but I'm also a daughter.
Yeah. So I feel like maybe um oh, I don't know. I feel like I would love to like be a character in Harry Potter and kind of have a whole thing.
Yeah.
I feel like their friend group is kind of like they have different add-ons. They have Luna, they have Neville. I feel like I could
It's like it's a broad
yeah.
friend.
Yeah, I feel like I could see a position for myself there as opposed to a very
Like a
strictly defined.
family type. My
Yeah.
answer is How I Met Your Mother because they all just gallivant around New York and have their like weird cast of friends. And like the weird people that they just like keep, like the same guy drives them in every taxi they take. It's like,
Yeah.
right, like
I
just one of
love
those weird recurring like
it.
characters. Choose one sense to lose, and what would be the best thing about it?
The best thing about losing it?
Yeah, like not having it.
Okay. I think I would lose the sense to that's a good one. I feel like I would lose the sense to I want to say smell because I feel like I wouldn't want to like smell really gross smelling things.
But also then you can't taste as well.
Do those two go together?
Yeah, like so some big percentage of
Yeah.
your of taste is, let me get that.
Ooh,
What
I didn't know that. I guess I haven't lost my sense of smell before. Um, huh.
So
Well, it wouldn't.
approximately 80 to 90% of what we perceive. Oh, let me cite my source here. This is from the Mayo Clinic. Cite my
Okay.
source here. Approximately 80 to 90% of what we perceive as taste is due to our sense of smell.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Which I just
Um,
feel like, because I feel like people will tell me that, and I'm like, I get
yeah.
it, but also like, but then you're kind of losing.
Maybe touch then. Because I feel like,
I always say touch when I answer these
yeah.
opinions.
Because I don't feel like touch is like one of my, like, I'm not like, some people like need physical touch or like need to like be
Mm,
able to feel things or like what, I don't know. I never have felt that way, so I feel like I would be fine with
real.
it.
Like I'm a hard no on like being physically touched, and also there's a lot
Yeah.
of touches that I don't like fabrics and stuff that I don't like. So I
Yeah.
was like, I feel like if I didn't have that, I could
Yeah. It
be
wouldn't be too
fine.
bad without that.
I could be fine. All right, we'll do like some rapid fire. Um, if you could high five any historical figure, who would you pick?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I
If
love
you
her.
were a psychic, if you were a psychic and you knew you would win the lottery tomorrow, would you buy a ticket?
Um, you know what? I don't think I would. I think, yeah, no, I wouldn't.
How many pennies could you fit into your room right now?
Oh my God.
A lot of pennies.
Probably like a couple million, maybe. I don't know. Maybe like a million potentially. My room isn't that big, so I feel like I'd probably feel like a million.
But it's also like, right. Where is somewhere you don't mind waiting?
Um, ooh, I don't like waiting for.
Just
Uh,
nowhere.
I don't mind waiting for a good burrito.
I
Yeah,
love that. All
yeah.
right, last one before I say a little close off. What's your favorite thing in your fridge right now?
Um, the protein balls that my mom made, they're like oats and peanut butter and
Oh,
chocolate.
I make those. Those are
Yeah,
so good.
they're really good, and she makes good ones. So
They're so
yeah.
good. Amazing. Well, thank you for an amazing lightning speed round and a great interview. As always, if you want to follow the journey, you can follow the podcast at BFA Baby Podcast or me at Tata's Ballet on Instagram. Sam, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Samantha Parr _, even though I'm private. But I also post what I'm reading, where I'm traveling, what I'm listening to on my public kind of second account, spar.etc, like etc. So you can follow that if you want.
Love.
Be on the
Love.
inside of the loop. But yeah.
Amazing. Well, it was great having you. Great catching up on the pod. All right, so we're gonna say married and a kiss, and we're gonna blow a kiss, and it's gonna be the whole thing. Ready? Thank you for listening, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Married and a kiss. Mwah.
Thank you, Taylor. This has been
Of
so
course, of
fun.
course. Thank you for joining us.
Always good to see you. And it's been so long since we've talked. And it's also like hard to believe that we've never actually met in person before.
Dude,
Like,
because I literally was getting on here and I was like, oh, it's just Samantha, but it's like,
yeah. Like we're like that's gonna be we should definitely arrange a time where we can actually meet in
no,
person.
well, because I saw your room, even like blurry. I was like, oh, it's Sam's
Yeah.
room. Like
Oh
I've
yeah, this
seen
is
this room before.
yeah. Yeah, I know. My pink walls. I've like you're like you're in your like childhood bedroom and like you kind of take yourself out of it for a minute and you're like you realize things, you're like, wait, I have pink walls. Like when did this happen?
No,
Like,
literally.
like you become so used to it and then you're like, wait, what? But anyways,
No way.
yeah, let's definitely stay in touch. Super good to catch up with you on everything. Thank you again for reaching out and for having me and for chatting it up. That was so much fun.
Of course. All right, we'll definitely arrange like a rendezvous at some point.
Yes, definitely.
Of course, have a great rest of your day.
You too.